tired of playing those games.
All right, welcome to Lakers Talk with Gerald, episode 122. If you guys didn't know, what you guys were listening to is my special guest, Miss Butta Rocka. If you guys didn't know, that's her single that's coming out soon, Strange Love. So go ahead and introduce yourself, Miss Butta Rocka, and let everybody know who you are.
Hello, my name is Butta Rocka. I'm an international recording artist. I am an Amazon bestselling author. I'm a host of Transparency Talks podcast, amongst a few other things.
Wow. Hey, look, that is amazing. Look, everybody, look, internationally acclaimed artist, songwriter, actress, model, author. I mean, like, you are doing so many things. I think that's amazing how you're just this entrepreneur, artist, and you're all over the place. Like, you're shaking and moving. I mean, how do you do that? I mean, how does it take, like, how does someone be able to accomplish all those different things?
Well, first you have to master one,
Mm-hmm.
but once you master one, then you can't be scared to venture out. For a long time, it was only music for me. And it wasn't until I actually injured myself that I had to say, okay, so you're going to have to figure out some other hustles. What else are you good at? You know what I mean? So I had to not be scared to think outside the box and to, figure out what else I could possibly do.
Right. That's pretty interesting. Like, the fact that you said how you went through something tragic or a big thing to kind of like, you know what, how can I change what I'm doing? I can't just be doing one thing. You know what I mean? Like, I think a lot of times in life, like, we go through things, a lot of times we'll be thinking one thing and, hey, this is my path. And sometimes when we go through something big, it kind of opens our mind. So let me ask you a little bit about, before I get into some other things, like, tell me where you're from, like where you originated from, your family.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I live in Atlanta, Georgia. I'm from Louisville, Kentucky. And I've been in Atlanta forever, over 20 something years. So I'm ATL all day. Right. That Georgia peach. And I have two amazing teen sons. I'm engaged, I don't know. Yeah.
What are the ages again?
They are 17 and 19.
17 and 19.
Mm-hmm. They have their own magazine and podcast.
Okay. Yep. I look, if you guys don't know, not only is she just international, doing all these things, entrepreneur, but she's raising like two young, smart, intelligent kids, which we'll get into during this podcast. So I got some questions just on that.
Okay.
But to me, that's amazing too. Like, that's another question in itself is, look, you're doing all these things, but then you also got to raise two kids. Most people are struggling just on trying to teach their kids just the normal basics in life. How do you balance that?
Well, first of all, my kids, there's nothing normal about me, nothing. I'm the mom that's always been on tour ever since they were in elementary school, so it afforded me, it gave me the freedom to be able to be there during the weekdays. I would travel on the weekends. Most of the time I was out of town or overseas on the weekends, but I was in their face. I was at the school. I was at all of the band and chorus and football, not every single one, but I was there a lot of the times with the mohawk, the red. At that time I had the red and orange and blonde mohawk, but I'm very active in my kids' life and everything, but they haven't had what you call the normal soccer. I'm not a normal soccer mom. Right. Never have been.
No, I mean, that's interesting. And that's pretty great. Cause it's that you actually, even though you traveled on the weekend, you still managed to be there and go through their events and things like that. Cause that's pretty big, raising kids, being in their life. So tell me, let's talk about your single, Strange Love. It's going to be released, I believe, tomorrow on all digital platforms.
Yes.
Where can everyone find that? But tell me about, how did you come about that single and that video? I love that video, by the way.
Thank you.
Before we get into it, I would love to, once this podcast is over, basically have the video run after we're done. If that's okay with you, we can play the video for everybody else when they watch it on YouTube or wherever else.
Okay, depending on when you drop in. As long as
we can make it work tomorrow. We can post it tomorrow. But tell me about that single and how that came about.
Yeah, okay. So the single is called Strange Love. And love is strange. Love is messy, it's unconventional, and we wanted to write about it. It's produced by Luna Man, based out of Belgium. I wrote it with
Oh,
Homer Mack, who is my writing partner and artist. And it's a very fun song. I mean, when I think of the song, I think of I recently was watching Empire,
mm,
and when you think of Cookie and Lucius relationship,
mm,
they have that love hate, but they stay in there no
uh,
matter what. You know what I mean? They always
right,
come back to each other. And I
right.
think that this is what this song is. We're going through our things, but we still are there. We still sticking it out. We still in there together. So, love is strange.
Love is strange. I mean, that's real. I mean, I believe people, I listen to it and I like it's something about it. It has, the hook is nice. I like the song. I like the video, and I think it's gonna be nice. I think it's gonna do very well. Where can people get that at?
They will be able to get it on all digital platforms, from Apple Podcasts, iTunes, Pandora,
Uh,
Spotify. I mean, you name it.
you name it.
YouTube, of course. Now, the music video, as you was just talking about, I'm super excited about that because the video takes you on a journey. You know what I
Right.
mean? And it's very visual.
Mm,
It's very colorful, and I
right.
definitely think that the audience is going to love it. It's an extended version because
Mm,
it's a radio edit, and then the video is an extended video. So I
ah,
think we're definitely going to enjoy,
nice.
the video.
Right. Hey, I enjoyed it too. Everybody, I got the sneak peek, but you guys are gonna love it too. Um,
Thank you.
um, with that being said, right, with that video, there was like, how long did it take you to write? Did you write it? And also, are you independent artists, or how do you kind of put yourself out there? How do you manage that?
Yeah, I am an independent artist, and it was written by me and Homer Mack. It
Nice.
was produced by Luna Man. And as an indie artist, nowadays you don't have to have a big label behind you. You
That is
can you
true.
can put stuff out independently. You have digital distribution deals now. So thankfully,
Yeah.
with us now having, able to get a distribution deal,
Mhm.
my song is able to be worldwide, basically.
Nice. I love it. I love being independent. I mean, now we don't have to rely on, back in the day, remember like all those big artists, even TLC, they were going and making all this money and everybody
Hmm.
think you guys are rich, but guess what? They're not really getting paid because their contract was written so kind of ways, because now we can be independent. You can put yourself out there, digital media, I mean, social media, excuse me, but so many means. So, I mean, that's a beautiful thing. Uh,
Yeah.
so tell me your name. All right. Butta B Rocka. I heard something about you being smooth. Did you research? So how did that come about?
Yeah, in Tampa, everybody used to be like, "All right, she got that smooth voice. That's
Smooth.
smooth like butter."
Mm,
And then when I moved to Atlanta in the studio, they'd be like, "Yeah, B Rocka, all right, B Rocka." And because there were so many artists that was butter, that you consider butter to be a guy and you consider butter to be a rapper, I wanted
mm,
to combine the two when I put out my album. And,
right.
because butter be rocking.
Nice. And it's stayed, and ever since you've been Butta B Rocka. Huh?
Yeah.
Rocking microphones and rocking every international. You've been all over the place, right? You've been international.
Absolutely. Well, I haven't been everywhere, but I've definitely been blessed to tour a lot, a whole
Right.
lot.
Okay. Hey, so I wanna say just a quick little throwback, right?
Okay.
I want to say how I came to at least know of you. I moved to Atlanta about 4 years ago. So about 2 years ago, I wanted to go see some live music, and I had a date, and I ventured out to Cafe 290, and they had a band. The band was really good, and it had this amazing singer. She was so great, and it turned out to be you. And you were just, I remember, I don't know if you did some covers, I don't know if you did some originals, but I just remember like, man, she is amazing. She is great. And I was on a date, I guess, and I think you and maybe your husband, I don't know who that was, but somehow we sat and we talked, and somehow you gave me social media, and then how things turn full circle. I eventually did a podcast. I've been doing my sports one, and then you're doing all kind of great, beautiful things. and somehow you reach out and say, hey, can I jump on your podcast? So that's pretty nice. I just want to let everybody know that, hey, that was it's pretty interesting how things kind of turn full circle, and you can, I'm an entrepreneur myself, right? I don't just do podcasts, and that's a great thing. Like what you do kind of inspires me and a lot of people I know, right? Since look, we're not monolith, right? We don't just do one thing. We can do podcasts. You could be an entrepreneur. You could be a singer. You can, all that stuff. So, do you still do those kind of things? And now, like doing live shows?
Well, because of COVID, I'm not doing any live shows.
Right.
If I do a live show now, it really has to make sense, and I have to make sure that it's a safe zone. That they really are taking the COVID serious, because people have lost their lives,
right.
to COVID. So I haven't really done a lot. Well, I haven't done any. I've done one. So
okay, you did
so far. But they checked the temperatures and had everybody spaced out and stuff like that. So I felt comfortable. I can't wait to get back on stage.
Right.
I can't wait. I have so much energy inside of me. It's like, Lord, we get to the stage, because it's nothing like being on stage and really pouring your heart out and feeling that energy. Meeting you and networking, and then still keeping in contact with each other.
Right.
It's cool.
I tell you what, so that transition to my next question. My next question is about this: when the pandemic started. Last year around March, I know for me, it became real, when the NBA shut down, Lakers talk with Joe, right? I just went to 2 Lakers games in March. My birthday was March 3rd, went to a Lakers game March 6th, March 8th, and then a couple days after that, the NBA shut down. And that's when the pandemic hit me like, man, this is real. So my question is, how did the pandemic affect you personally and professionally?
Well, personally, it didn't affect me as bad as it would have, because I had December of 2018 had fallen, and I ended up having dislocated my shoulder, torn meniscus, and torn ACL.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So I literally set 2019 out, wasn't touring. And that was already a wake-up call for me, and forced me to have to figure out my other hustles. Now, what I was gearing up to and was ready for was April of 2020, I was to be released, and was able to start touring again. And now COVID hit. So I had all these dates that I was booked for, and then COVID hit, so I kind of was already, prepared per se, so it didn't hit me as hard as it would have, had my injury not happened. But it was still, definitely, when you're ready to get back out there and prove to the world you're back, and all this type of stuff, and you're antsy because you haven't been on stage for a whole year, or I did a couple of shows, but not touring like I used to. So I was definitely ready for that. But COVID really made me have to, again, dig in and figure out, what are my strengths? What am I good at? And so, from my book to my podcast, starting the Boys Magazine, so many things were birthed because of COVID. So I don't think that it was necessarily, of course it was, bad to, have people lose their jobs, and, the money, that did hurt, of course. But it also forced me to really have to hone in and figure out, what else can I do? And I think for a lot of people, a lot of things were birthed for a lot of people because of COVID, So although I see it as a bad thing, we tend to evolve, people haven't done as many, through the computer meetings and various things. But now, we're kind of used to it, and now people have been able to flip the narrative and are able to make money, having their meetings and stuff online. And then I think once even COVID is lifted, a lot of things are still going to be online, because, like for offices and stuff like that, you cut back on having to have this big building and all of the, fees that come with that. You know what I mean? So you can have people working from their homes. And it's, I think it's not a bad thing that it happened. It just caught everybody off guard, and we had to adjust ourselves.
Exactly. I like how you said that, how when it happened, I mean, we have to adjust. And it kind of reminds me, like anything you go through in life, anybody that, if you're going to be successful, you got to be able to, things are going to constantly change. There's always going to be something you go through, whether it's family, deaths, emergencies. You can make a plan in life and think you have a structured out, but life is going to always hit you in the face, say, you thought you had a plan, but here I am.
Yeah.
And doing like you do, we have to, you know what, adjust. Okay, I got to do stuff online. I can do whatever, but yeah, we got to shake and move. We got to adjust. And here we are learning better things, learning how to do digitally. A lot of people that weren't doing this, I'm a digital guy. I'm an IT guy. I've been doing things. So a lot of stuff I've been doing and getting into, but it does force people to change. And I think you're kind of like reiterating that and showing how people, you got to change and shake and move, basically.
To bring up, sports, when you think about sports, every second of a game, you have to bob and weave, and you have to be able to adjust to whatever's coming at your way. You know what I mean? Yeah. They have to pivot all the time, and you just never know how it's going to happen. So,
exactly.
I think that we all have had to pivot a lot. Right.
You're absolutely right. I like how you brought that back to sports, and you got to constantly be, you got to keep adjusting constantly and figuring out what's happening, and you do according to what happened.
Right.
So with that being said, let me just give a rundown for anybody that's listening right now and you're wondering, wait, we haven't heard much about the Lakers. Let me just give a quick update. This is going to be mostly, we're talking to Butta Rocka here, and she's co-hosting and we're interviewing. But just give you guys an update. If you didn't know, the Lakers won the last two games. The last two games, we went into double overtime with the lowly team that we faced, and we barely won. We shouldn't have went into double overtime, but we won. It doesn't matter. And so now we face the OKC Thunder tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So now you got the update on Lakers Talk. Back to talking about life events and this entrepreneur here, Butta Rocka. So now, Butta, I want to talk about your children, right?
Okay.
Now, I went talking about your podcast, Transparency Talks, right? It's on iHeartRadio. And I believe it's probably on some other places too. Listen to that. I listened to the one where you interviewed your children. Mm-hmm. Man, super smart teenagers. You would think, these people, they're adults, in my opinion. Listening to them, like, man, they're way above their years. So tell me about how they have a magazine, I believe, and then tell me about how you kind of taught them to have that mindset. And tell me about the magazine too.
So, first of all, I definitely, God definitely blessed me with some amazing boys that are very smart and very respectful. Mm-hmm. And they definitely have a good head on their shoulders.
Right.
They have a magazine called Defiant Ones Teen Magazine. It is for teens by teens, and they not only highlight, the biggest stars and the latest fashions, but one of the things that I love about their magazine is they talk about financial literacy. They talk about health and wellness of teens. They talk about the mental, wellness of teens. They talk about bullying, sex trafficking, school, so many things that the schools didn't talk about or don't teach them. They really address those and bring it in your face, because you don't think about, those types of things, and nobody talking about what's really going on with your GPA and how important it really is. It wasn't until my oldest son, who's now in college, when last year he was getting ready for college, and, his GPA didn't hit for some of the schools that he wanted to go to. So, you get in high school in 9th through 11th, you really, and I'm not going to say playing, but you're not taking it as serious.
Right.
Until it's time to start submitting, your applications to these colleges, and some of them have higher standards of GPAs that they want you to be at, and the scholarships, you got to have a certain GPA and stuff like that. And so he got hit with a dose of reality, and so to you know, you hear your parents telling you, "Oh, do your grades, your school matters," that type of stuff. Is in one ear, out the other. You know what I mean? It just seems like your parents nagging in your face, you know.
Exactly.
And so when you hear it from your peers that's saying, "Hey, nah, this is serious," you know, I didn't get this scholarship because of this, you know. We featured a football player who, you know, he ended up getting picked up in college, you know, for a team or whatever, but it took him a minute because his grades were super low. You know, he could have went to the top school. He had to, you know, he did get accepted, but he didn't get the top because his grades weren't where they were supposed to be. So when you have someone telling you those types of things, you know, that's your age, you know, you tend to listen a little bit more. So definitely, you know, proud of the boys. They've been able to feature Disney stars, Nickelodeon, American Idol stars, NFL. Like they've got a lot of different people on there, and it's definitely been a blessing because it's only been, you know, a year. So
Wow,
it's a blessing. Yeah,
that is amazing. I like the topics and that it's given young teenagers all those topics and things that they need to know that probably don't get, it doesn't get talked about, right? So what I think is amazing is a lot of people, a lot of adults, I'm 45 years old, you know, I wouldn't know the first thing to start a magazine, let alone if I was a teenager. So if all the teenagers and young people, anybody of any age that are motivated to do anything, this gives us, you know, it shows examples that these things can be done. They're not impossible. So how does one, just the basics, not in detail, but how does one start a magazine?
oh my gosh, it was really tough because, you know, the first thing they had to do was, you know, they said that they wanted to, you know, start their own magazine. So me and my fiance, we was writing for several magazines. And, you know, they came to us, why don't we start our own magazine? Okay, well, what does that look like? You know? So I had them write out a business proposal. You know, what you have in mind. One, I wanted them to write it out because I wanted to see if they were serious, you know, and that just wasn't just something that they was just saying. So, you know, they really put some thought into it. And, you know, they came back with, you know, we want to do a magazine for teens and young adults, you know, by teens and young adults. And I definitely thought it was a great, you know, effort and a great thing to do. So, man, it was tough at first because we had never, you know, although we had written for magazines, doing your own magazine is a whole different story. So we had to learn. I mean, I do graphics and different stuff like that. So we had to learn how to do the graphics and do the formatting and really get it, you know, right. If you see the first magazine, which I'm super proud of, you know, it didn't have the borders right. It had a white line on the front cover, but that's because when you print it as a PDF, it gives an invisible line that we didn't know anything about because it's invisible. You know what I mean? So who would know that? So it took a couple of, you know, times of, you know, working it out and having to redo it, working it out. It was so many rewrites and reformats. Oh my God, you know.
Yeah, no, that's great. But they did it. I believe a lot of people believe when you start a business or start doing anything, some people, they feel like I gotta perfect it. I gotta get knowledgeable. I might have to spend 5 years trying to learn how to do every step, and they never do it or they take too long. But sometimes you might be knowledgeable. Sometimes you just gotta start it, and then, you know, you can adjust like you guys did. You say, okay, wait, we learned that, okay, the borders might be here, but we, you know, we're adjusting and we learn as we go on and it's getting better. So that's a great thing. So what about, you guys did all that. How do you get it out? Do you know, you got to have partnerships and digitally support, or I don't know how that works.
Well, we ended up, it was better for us to put it out via Amazon so that it can be print on demand and it could go directly to them. You know, we was trying to figure out what would be the best steps for us. That ended up being our best solution at the time. Eventually we definitely want to, you know, sign to a publishing company and have it distributed worldwide, you know, on a bigger scale. But, you know, to start off, we started it with Amazon, and like I said, it's a print on demand, so you can get it digitally or you can get the paperback.
Look, I love that. I love that we have so many options and choices now. Think about it. 20 years ago, I don't know how long ago, a lot of people didn't have the option to put their whatever out. They had to go to these big publishing agencies and get approved, and they had all the power.
Yep.
Now it's like, everything, things changing. Like now we got more power. We can put ourselves out there. So I love that. So everyone listening, I didn't think about that kind of thing. Like, man, like, people out there might think like, man, okay, maybe I can start a magazine now. So that's pretty great. I'm definitely gonna have to check those magazines out. So you've done a book, which one day I would love to write a book. And I've been thinking about like, why not? I can write a book. I got so much in my life to tell, right? So you wrote a book. I heard you even wrote like a screenplay or something.
Absolutely.
How did that come about? I mean, you do so many things, and I'm like, man, half the people, yes. So tell me about that. How did that come about?
Tell you about which one first?
The screenplay, the writing,
Okay.
something like that.
So with the screenplay is called I Cheated, So What?
Mm-hmm.
And that was a play off of, we referenced a song that I wrote called The Storm. And it's basically about if the shoe was on the other foot, so often the men would cheat and it wouldn't mean anything. They would tell the woman, that person didn't mean anything to me. It was just sex, that type of stuff. But when those tables are turned and the girl says it to the guy, they're not trying to hear it.
No, you're right.
They're not trying to hear it, because they're territorial, type of thing. So, the play was kind of in your face. It was referenced. The song actually happened because of a girlfriend of mine was married for over 10 years. They had children. They had 3 kids actually. And he ended up having a kid out of wedlock, which she helped raise. And this particular day, she was bringing her kids to the birthday party. And the other baby mother didn't want her to be there and told the husband to make his wife leave. So, of course, that turned into a big drama. And she left and she went and cried on the shoulder of a guy. And one thing led to another. They didn't go, all the way with it. She felt bad and she left. Okay. And she got home and, felt guilty and told the husband, who then turned around and said, I want to divorce you, or this, you, or that. I don't want nothing else to do with you. And so, now she's crying on my shoulders, and I'm like, what? This doesn't make any sense. He got a kid that you've been raising. Like, what? He's cheated so many times. I mean, so many nights of not being home, making excuses on why he couldn't make it. And it was just so much, drama. But she stood in there, and then she doesn't even go all the way. She don't even go to third base. And you like, nah, I don't want to have nothing to do with you.
That's crazy. Yeah.
Right.
Crazy.
So the song, the first lines I wrote was, I admitted, I did it, I cheated, so what? Because it's like, really?
Right.
And I had played this song for a director, and he was like, this is a play. And I was like, I've always wanted to write a play. I didn't know how to do a play. I was scared to do a play, but it was something that I definitely wanted to do one day. And he offered to write it for me. He's been writing plays for over 20 years. And I was like, well, I don't want you to write the whole thing, but I do want to learn, because I am a songwriter. So I do know how to write. And once I understood how to do the layers and how to do the interactions and make it flow, we was able to create an amazing play that actually gives the perspective from the man, and it gives the perspective from the woman. So it was actually a good thing that he helped me write it, because he really gave a perspective of guys that I didn't think about, because honestly, from what I'm hearing, most guys really do say when they hit it, they're not attached. That it absolutely means nothing to them. Whereas when a girl, cheats, she is emotionally detached from you. You know what I mean? By the time she cheats, she's done with you. Like, for real.
That's true.
So,
that's true. From what I've heard, I wasn't on the side of the cheating, but yeah, that's interesting. So that play, I listened to that song, The Storm, kind of what you said, and I started listening to it. You're like, yeah, I cheated. So what? I was like, oh, wait a minute, like, what happened? And then you're like, so like you did, you flipped it around, because usually it's the guy is like, I cheated, but then eventually the woman takes him back, but you don't, the other way around, you know, the guy's like, wait a minute, you know, if a guy could cheat 10 times and a woman does one little thing and he's like, oh, I'm gone, you know, double standard. It shouldn't be.
Yeah, it's definitely a double standard. I have an insert in there that says, you want me to forgive you, but can you do the same? Can you look away and act like nothing's changed? You know, can you face the fact I've been with another? Can we get beyond my undercover lover? And he ain't trying to hear that. He looking at her like, what? No.
I'm telling you, look, even as I was, you know, watching the video and listening to the song, I was in my mind and processing, because sometimes maybe you love that woman and it hurts. For a man, it hits you, it cuts deep. You're like, damn, my woman went with another man. It takes a while for you to kind of get over that. I think, and I feel like you can. I just feel like you'd have to have a deep relationship. You guys had to know each other, build trust over time, and have something special. And you guys be able to. It'd have to be, I guess, you know, you'd have to talk, but it could be done. But it would take a while for the man to really, like, okay, you know what?
Yeah.
Look, I've done it. We've done it. We can get past this. Let's build together and, you know, come up with. I guess you might have to come up with other boundaries or trust levels or something. I don't know. But no, it's a great song. I recommend everybody go watch that. And I believe I was on your site, right? I believe it's ButtaBRocka.com, right? They can go to your site and at least I believe the 4 videos I see on there that went on there, it's got Promised Land, there's The Storm, there's Straight in My Heart, and Switch Lanes, I believe. So everybody listen, go check that out on your site. And there's much, much more. I mean, you know, there's so much on your site that they can go. And I hear you also have a nonprofit. Can you tell me about that?
I do have a nonprofit. It's called Artists Rock the Mic. And it started from a young lady being in college, having a full scholarship, but it didn't cover her room and board or food. And she was couch hopping. Imagine being in school making straight A's, but you don't have a place to sleep. How are you maintaining your grades? Your mentality, you know, has to be, you know, messed up a little bit. And I was in college on tour, you know, with my kids, and it was tough, you know, for me, but I had a roof over my head. So imagine not having a roof over your head, you know? So I found out that she was couch hopping. I found out that she was eating out of the garbage can and she was taking showers in the gym. And that was a problem, you know? So it was like, what can you do to help? Well, I already do shows. I do open mics, you know, every once in a while. And, you know, me and my friends get together and have a good old time. So it's like, well, why can't I use my influence and start, you know, to help? So started, you know, asking the other artists to join me. So I had not only indie artists, but major artists would come through. We perform, we would collect the money, give the money to the school. We would collect coats and shoes and canned goods and anything that we could do to help, we was doing it. So yeah, that's how Artists Rock the Mic Foundation came about. And, you know, I'm definitely proud of it. To go back to my book, because we didn't even get to talk about the book. I talked about the play, but the book is called Fear of Failure, Fear of Not Trying by Old Robinson. And it's basically, you know, talking about overcoming your fears. You know, so many times life hits you and you get hit hard and you have to figure out how you're going to get up, and you have to figure out how to take that step. You know, fear will stop you dead in your tracks. You know what I mean? So it became a time where you can't let what other people's opinion of you determine who you are. And so, you know, my story in the music industry was one full of hope, but also full of rejection, full of self-doubt. You know, went through a divorce, raising kids, boys at that, being a woman, raising boys on my own, going through infidelity in my relationship. I mean, it was a whole lot. And still being able to pick up the pieces and finally bet on myself and say, you know what, you know, all I can do is be me and be the best me and be the best representation of me. And so I began to, you know, act how I felt I was, you know what I mean? Not how you felt I was, how I felt I was. So, you know, I put my project out. I wasn't sure how I was going to do it, but I knew I wanted to get my voice out there, you know? And, I put that project out, and that led to so many other opportunities. And what was so crazy is, although it led to a lot of opportunities, me traveling overseas, me working with a lot of major celebrities and everything, I had a visor on. I still wasn't open. It wasn't until I injured myself that I discovered that I had even more inside of me than just being an artist. So I'm definitely an artist all day, but I'm so much more than that. You know what I mean? So a lot of things was birthed because, I finally took that step of faith and overcame my fears.
That's beautiful. I believe so many people can learn from what you just said and learn from that book, because I've gone through experiences, same kind of thing where, like you say, instead of listening to what everybody said and the feedback, and a lot of times you just got to use your internal guidance. Hey, I'm going to do what I feel I'm worth this. I can do this. I don't have to keep listening to these. So that's great. And so that book, and we can get that too. Same thing, Amazon, or is it?
Absolutely. Amazon and on my website at Butta Rocka. But yeah, you can definitely get it from Amazon as well.
Yeah.
And again, it's Fear of Failure, Fear of Not Trying by O. Robinson.
Right. Nice. Very nice. I haven't read it yet. I'm definitely going to read that, because that's definitely a great book. But it definitely reminds me of some things I've went through. Sometimes I've read books and it helped me to change my thinking. Maybe I was closed-minded in certain things and not living my full potential. And sometimes I've read a book and it kind of like gave me a different perspective and said, hey, wait a minute. Why am I holding myself back? What am I afraid of? Stop being afraid. If you want something, if you want to be great, you got to be willing to do things that you've never done. And then you can't be scared about it. You got to just do it. Don't worry about what everybody else is going to think. And what you learn, and what I've learned from that, is when you do that, for instance, this podcast, I was always I never wanted to, give everybody my personal information. I didn't want them to know anything about me. I was very private, but open up. I started doing a podcast, and it gave me, it kind of gave me a lot more confidence, right? I hear myself and I'm like, you know what? It's not so bad. I'm talking through topics and people giving encouragement. But the great thing is you overcome fear. And it really was for me. It helped me open myself up and to become greater, in a way. So, so that's part of that, not having that fear of failure, I would say.
One of the things that you also do, you have to understand that it's okay to fail. Because you have to learn what you're doing is you're failing forward, because every step that you're taking, you're learning from it. So it's not really failing. It's learning.
Right. No, great point. Because everything we do in life, we learn from. You only fail if you quit. If you just stop ever trying, right? Everything you go should be a learning lesson. You fail, like you said, fail up. Hey, look, I failed, but I wasn't successful in this right now. What did I learn from this? What did I do wrong? How can I get better? And now I know if I go through this again, I at least know what to do better and change. Like, think about all those people, like, I think it was Walt Disney and all those other famous people that they got turned down so many times. If they would have just gave up, they wouldn't have been successful and, did what they did. So.
Absolutely. One of the things that I do what they call plan, do, review. So you plan it out, and again, you don't have to have every step, but you have to have some sort of plan and some type of vision where you want to go or what you're trying to do, and take the steps, necessary to get there. But then you review it. If it's not working, if you need to adjust some things, you adjust, and then you redo.
Nice. No, that's a great point. Make sure you write things down, have a plan, and then you just readjust as you go. If things not going to plan, okay, let's take a look at it, readjust it, write it down. Great advice. Man, so we went over, like, there's so much. We probably can talk for hours on everything that, once again, songwriter, actress, entrepreneur, you're man, doing everything. Got your single coming out. I'm thinking we're probably gonna wrap this up now. I know it's been almost 30 plus minutes. So thank you so much, Butta Rocka, for joining me and going over giving all this knowledge. First of all, I mean, there's a lot of great knowledge that a lot of people out there need, because a lot of people really aren't doing. So you're not only giving people great music and plays and books and songwriting, but you're just doing so much. A great example
Thank you.
for all. So anything you want to, last thing, shout outs?
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I want to thank you for having me on your show. I definitely appreciate it. I would like to tell everybody, make sure that you go out and get my new single, Strange Love. Make sure that you watch the video, like, share, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, and follow me on all social media at Butta Rocka. That's BUTTA BROCKA. And that's it.
All right. Thank you so much. So that's going to do it. Episode 122 of Lakers Talk with Gerald, with my guest, Butta Rocka. Thank you so much. And we're officially out.
Thank you.